back, we did a episode on pre-sale panic and what's going on in pre-sales, and just kind of painting the picture of new construction and the new condo outlook for the next few years. That was one of our most popular episodes. We had a lot of views on it, and so we wanted to maybe just kind of chat about the resale side and be really specific on New West and condo environment, and just what's going on in terms of inventory, sales volume, where opportunity is in condo resale market, and how much inventory there is. But
so let's we're doing this podcast in June. We're in our New Westminster office in Glenbrook North. We are talking about New Westminster condos and what's been going on in them. And New West is a city that's it's a smaller city in Lower Mainland, but it is a city that has a lot of condos for its size. So it's a good condo market in terms of options, different ages, different size. You got the low rises on the Quay, you got high rises in downtown New West, you got a lot of different options for a small city. So we think, and it's also a city that we know well. If you Google search New Westminster Realtors, I'd like to think we'll show up. But let's go into it, because this is a market that's tough, and we always tend to find that New West offers good value and good product options. And there's certain historically hotter properties in New West and historically softer ones. So our hope with this episode is to give you a good picture of what's going on in New West, and know that it's not just New West specific. New West kind of resembles a lot of Coquitlam, Port Moody, Burnaby in some areas. So what you're hearing from what New West is going through is a similar story to the surrounding cities as well. So let's start, Denny. New West condos, just a big, bold snapshot. Current active listings, 410 listings. Mm-hmm. The May sales that came through in the Real Estate Board report was 50 sales. So 50 condo sales out of 410 active listings. Not the best. What is that? 9 months, just over 8 months of inventory. Average sale price or average active listing price is $727,600, and the average sale price has been $672,500. Denny, what does let's call it a $700,000 condo in New West get you?
that gets you a 10 to 15-year-old two-bedroom that is 850 to 950 square feet.
Yeah. You might get
low rise.
You might get a 1,000 square footer in certain buildings that might translate to 800 square foot in other ones, depending on the caliber of the building, concrete versus wood frame, neighborhood and age built.
There's such a variation of age building in New West. So like in the Quay, for example, 700K gets you probably 12 or 1,300 square feet. Original condition unit in a 1980s building versus Victoria Hill, it gets you a 10-year-old wood frame building that's 950 square feet that you don't have to do renos to.
I have one example here that gives a really good picture. So there was a Victoria Hill sale that happened at 271 Francis, 1,007 square foot, 2-bedroom corner unit built in 2016. So 9 years old, and it sold for $735,000. So that's pretty good value. Builders can't build, and it feels new. It's 2016 built, 1,007 square feet, corner unit, 2-bed, $735,000. That's what it sold for. That's where the market's at today. And I don't think that will become $650 tomorrow. I think that will stay around $735, and hopefully go up to $800 if things improve. I did a little bit of a deep dive in Victoria Hill because it is a market where we have a few listings right now. And it was also, when I looked at the sales, there's 50 sales in May, but I kind of looked at the last 60 and 90 days just to see if there's any patterns or any. And these, when you're looking at a sample that small, it can be random, it can be obscure, it doesn't always reflect what's happening always. But in May, there was 12 condo sales in Victoria Hill, which isn't bad. 12 condo sales in this market out of 48 listings. So in theory, Victoria Hill has 4 months of inventory, which is far less than the market average right now. That's actually statistically on the seller market side, but it's definitely not a sales market. So the average sale in Victoria Hill is $757,000 in May. And I gave you that example of a 1,000 square foot corner unit. The median price per square foot is $740 a foot. So you can't make 10-year-old condos, but you can, new construction's $1,000+ a foot. So really good value play right now is a community like Victoria Hill that's 10 years old. I say it's 10 years old, but it ranges from 20 years old to 5 years old, maybe or less.
6, yeah.
But not buying brand new, $740 square dollars a foot for something that feels new is good value. And that's what is the median price per foot in the sale prices that have happened. Denny, you have a Victoria Hill listing.
I got 3, yeah.
You got 3. I got. Well, I guess we have. We got 3. We have 4 total. Yeah, we have 4 total. So we're active in the area, and they are getting showing. Well, particularly one that you have that's a higher price point. It's getting a lot of action, but people are seeing it, and it's just not amounting to offers like we would expect.
Yeah.
So there's good opportunities in Victoria Hill. We can tell you right now there are some good opportunities in Victoria Hill right now.
Yeah. It's a funny neighborhood that, like, right now, it's pretty similar to other condo areas in Greater Vancouver. Is if you slightly overprice, you're going to sit for a long time. In Victoria, the last I looked was like a few days ago, but I think there was 27 2-bedrooms for sale. And last month, in the last 30 days, there was 4 or 5 sales of 2-bedroom units. So you need to. I heard someone on another podcast say this, and I thought it was really interesting. Is pricing homes right now is very difficult because you can look at the last sales in the last 3 to 6 months and price accordingly. But it's almost more important to look at the active inventory because there's so much inventory. And if you're pricing in line with sales, but there are 5 units that are priced below you or below those recent sales, guess what? You're not going to sell.
Totally. To go in a couple, I went into a couple developments for what's going on. And I guess I'll say that the high sale in New West for a condo in May was $934,000 for a 1672 square foot waterfront condo on the Quay. Older, talking about like 35-year-old, early 90s built building. Yeah. Pier West, we've talked about in the past, Boza's waterfront towers had 5 sales in May and 44 active listings currently. These are higher price points. 5 sales in May isn't bad for this market. Those sales were in lower price points. That median price per foot is $825. Those sales are happening below what those people paid for 5 years ago. Yeah, they're selling for about 5% less of the pre-GST price they paid in pre-sale. So let's call it a 10% hit. And when do they go for sale? Was it how long ago?
January 2018.
So you bought it January 2018. Gold was worth how much then?
6 bars.
So you got it for 1 gold bar in 2018. In Canadian currency, you're taking a 10% hit. In gold bars, you're down to half a bar. Couple other developments in New West. News, that's 3 towers in downtown New West. Currently, they're built in early mid-2000s. They had 15 active listings. And in the last 60 days, 0 sales. In the last 90 days, 0 sales. Last sale in the news development was in March. 618 Carnarvon, new condo, downtown New West, 22 listings, active. Last 60 days, 1 sale. Last 90 days, 2 sales. Both of them were 1-bedrooms, under $600,000. Ovation, downtown New West, 12 listings, a little more action, 2 sales in the last 60 days. Azure, Plaza 88, those 3 towers on Carnarvon overlooking the SkyTrain that don't have enough elevators and have too many floors of parking. Yep. Sorry, Plaza. I shouldn't bash them so much. I mean, it's a good location. You're close to the SkyTrain. You're very conveniently located.
It's funny how things change over a decade, eh? Because 10 years ago, 11 years ago when I started, news. Yeah. The 3 towers that Jamie just mentioned, and then Plaza 88, the 3 towers above the SkyTrain, were like the go-to investor condos.
They probably still arguably are. You know, it's just you don't want to live there. Yeah. Well, news is better for elevators. At Plaza 88, just to be clear, just has a lot of movement certain times of the month, and those elevators get tied up. Yeah. Sorry, Plaza 88. And on a Plaza 88 story, just to show you the value of the discount that you're getting, one of the sales, 1,151 square foot, 2-bedroom and den, sold for $686. That's $596 a square foot for a 2009 built concrete condo. It's pretty low.
Those are the ones that are right on the water too. Those are the front facing units, and they're funky floor plans. So what is it? 11 something square feet?
1151 square feet.
1151 square feet feels like
good, like 200 hallway.
Yeah, it feels like 950. Yeah,
if you like big hallways.
Yeah.
It feels like 980, right? Not 950. Nelson's Brewery District, 20258 Nelson's Court, 11 listings, 1 sale in the last 60 days. Just give you an example sale. These are a 2020 built condo, unit 204, sold for $710. which is $810 a foot. That's one of the most recent sales. So buying a 2020 built concrete condo at $810 a foot. Pretty good deal. Below replacement cost.
Yeah.
Outside, Marana Lofts, my favorite old loft community. Guys, there's some good deals in the lofts right now. There are not a lot of movement. 7 listings right now and 1 sale in the last 60 days. Pretty funky places. They're never going to build lofts like those again. If you're looking for a loft, now is a good time. Last 60 days, kind of isolating instead of developments, just looking at 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom condos. And I thought, people that buy 1 bedroom, 1 bath, a lot of them are looking at 2000, like built after 2000 in New West. That's a big market between 1 bedroom, 1 bath, between 500,000 and 600,000 that are built after year 2000. Because that's a really common kind of category for some first-time buyers. And in the last 60 days, there's 10 sales out of 52 listings. So that's arguably one of the more active price ranges. We're talking about 5 months worth of inventory. That's not a seller's market or buyer's market. That's pretty balanced.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, I'd say if you kind of take the whole, the macro is 410 listings, 50 sales. So it's more 1 in 9. But when you can start isolating the more active price points, it's more of like a 1 in 4 to 1 in 6. And what I mean by that is 9 months inventory versus 4 to 6 months inventory when you isolate the products. Yeah. 2 bed, 2 bath between 600,000 and 700,000. 11 sales out of 38 listings. That's less than 4 months of inventory. So if you're looking for a 2 bed, 2 bath in New West right now between 600,000 and 700,000, you're not in a buyer's market. You're actually statistically more in a seller's market, but let's be realistic, it's more of a buyer's market as a whole.
Do you have the number from 700,000 to 800,000?
700,000 to 800,000 wasn't as terrible as I thought.
Okay.
8 sales, and yes, I do. 8 sales in the last 60 days, 48 listings. So
that's about 10% sales ratio.
Well, sorry, I'm saying last 60 days. So just be clear. It's a ratio is supposed to be over a month, but when I'm isolating the last 60 days, it's probably missing most of the sales in the last 2 weeks. So the last 60 days of sales probably reflects a month and a half worth of data. So, 8 sales out of 48 listings, that's probably closer to a 10 months worth of inventory when you adjust it.
Because one of the things I was going to summarize your neighborhoods with, which you just basically proved saying 1 and 2 bedrooms and like the price points, is the low price points are much more active than the more luxury condos. Pier West is a good example of that, saying that there's 5 sales in there. And the highest sale in New West last month was 930 something, you said?
Yes.
And that wasn't in Pier West. So that means none of the more luxury, higher and bigger units in Pier West, which there's a lot of for sale, sold last month.
Now, and just like that was a blip where Pier West didn't have a high sale. There's been lots of months where they had a sale over $1 million. But you know what? Just kind of looking at the inventory levels, it gets more bleak as you go up. 2 bedrooms that are between 800 and $1 million. 53 listings, 8 sales in May, 7 months of inventory, over $1 million, 0 sales in May. There's no condo sales over $1 million in May and 25 listings over that. So that's infinity months of inventory. And then just all listings over $1 million. There's no sales over $1 million. 3 bedrooms, isolating 3 bedroom condos, 4 sales in May, 8 sales in the last 60 days, 40 active listings. So 10 months of inventory for 3 bedroom condos. 3 bedroom townhouses. Now, 3 bedroom townhouses, arguably more of a desirable product. 46 listings, 8 sales in the last 60 days. Seems like a bit higher inventory for when you isolate 3 bedroom condos. But what I did is I took out Queensboro from that equation, and the stats skew a little bit more. Yeah. So when you take out Queensboro, with Queensboro, it's 9 months of inventory. Without Queensboro, townhouses in New West go to 5 months of inventory. So townhouses are sitting a little bit more in Queensboro than in the rest of New West. That's my stats. That was a mouthful. I don't know if I painted a picture for people on what to expect when buying a condo in New West. Yeah. But Denny, what are you seeing? What do you got in front of you?
You mentioned most of it. I think when you look at like comparatively to Burnaby, Coquitlam, which are often very similar sales ratio numbers, they're pretty similar right now. Burnaby has a ton of condos for sale, 1,254 condos for sale. Sales ratio of 11%. So that's just over around 9 months of inventory. Coquitlam is pretty similar, 552 condos for sale. Sales ratio of 10%. There's 54 sales last month. That's 10 months of inventory.
I'm a buyer. I want to buy a condo. What is like? Are you saying no, never buy a condo? Are you saying rent a condo?
Be specific about what you're looking for. Yeah. I have a few people right now that are overwhelmed with the amount of inventory. They're like, I just don't know what to look for anymore because there's 622 units that come up on my search. It's overwhelming. And what I've heard recently, which is really interesting, is I see a unit. I really like that unit. Checks a lot of the boxes. But what if something comes up better tomorrow? There's no urgency on the buyer side right now. A lot of buyers are feeling like they have a lot of time and the market is not improving. So if they wait 3 months to try to find the perfect unit, they're not going to pay more for it. They might pay less for it. That's the sentiment right now on the condo side.
I think we forget, but it's easy to forget. I mean, right, with all the way the market feels right now, it's tempting to wait, just because uncertainty, it's tempting to wait. There's so many times in the past where these little lulls of quiet come and they go and it changes really quick. Now, I don't know if we're in for a quick change next year, but there's a good chance that anyone that doesn't buy now or in the next, while the market is like maybe probably for the tail end of this year or before, call it next spring, if there is a significant market shift, it usually happens in a spring market. And the reason why is because over Christmas and over winter, the listings dry up and then the inventory's down. And then when they start trickling in January and February, the good ones start getting bidding wars and those bidding wars start improving prices. And then by the time you get to March or April, there's a little bit of a jump in prices. So I am I'm less optimistic that we're going to see that shift next spring because I kept on thinking we're going to see it this spring and last spring. So I'm just no longer optimistic, Denny. But what I will say is like everyone thinks alike. And once the news headlines start being positive, the wave of buyers is going to show up in a storm. And if we get some rate cuts throughout the fall or for the tail end of this year and the news turns, next year might be completely opposite of the conditions that we're experiencing now. Not for brand new condos. I think that's going to take some time. But for a lot of these condos, townhouses, and houses sitting on market right now, there's good products sitting on market. There's product that we have listed that in any, like last year that we thought was bad would have sold. The year before that we thought was bad would have sold. The year before that it would have sold with 10 offers. So we see good listings that aren't selling. We see good places that aren't selling, but a lot of the times it's the best ones that go through. It's just now is a good time to be a buyer. And if you wait and wait and wait, I think if you wait to the fall, yeah, it might amount to a better deal, but it's going to have less selection. So you're going to have better selection now and over the summer. If you wait to the fall, you're reliant on more hardship happening in the next few months. And if they do happen to do a rate cut, I just don't know if that's going to come. I think if rate cuts start coming in, there's going to be more of an optimistic feel, and most sellers might just push it to next year. But the ones that have to sell quickly, those are like, that's the goal for the buyers. How do you weed out of these 200 listings, which seller is desperate?
That's the challenge.
That's the challenge.
Because as we talked about on the last podcast, a lot of sellers right now are selling first and they don't feel a lot of anxiety. Yes, maybe the media says there's a lot of turmoil on the seller side, but from what we're seeing, a lot of people are just electing to switch that transition around and sell first versus buy first that they have done in the past, which puts pressure on you to sell. If you're selling first and it doesn't sell in 3 months, a lot of people are okay with that right now.
Yeah. I guess the difference of vibe, when you have a seller that's making a move and they're buying, the buy is so important, especially whether it's someone that's, later in life, an elderly couple looking for their last place that they just don't want to have to leave. And so they need the perfect condo, or whether it's someone buying up to a house. The purchase is crucial. And if they have to sell something to get there, the conversation we've had the last few years is, I need to find the perfect place before I sell. And you take them out to see a bunch of places. They get comfortable with what they see something they like, and that motivates them to list their place to get it sold. And then they realize how hard it is to sell. And that idea of teeing up the perfect place before they sell slowly subsides. Whereas before, everyone would want to know where they're going before they sold. Now, I want to know where I'm going. But then once I get in the process, I realize, the hardest part is selling my place. Then the other part's easy comparatively. You just have to, you have to go through the process. And the process is, everyone has a dream of a path. Yeah, I want to go there. I'm going to sell tomorrow and it's going to close 2 months from now and I'm going to get to that next place. But the reality is it's not going to your timeline. Often that timeline is changed. That 2 months turns into 6 or turns into a price that you didn't expect or turns into, let's try again next year. Anyway, condos, this was a Condo in New West podcast, Denny. Any closing notes for listeners that made it this far on considering buying or selling a New West condo right now?
On the selling side, price correctly. There is a lot. I mean, this is a funny thing to look at, and there's no stat to back it up, but maybe we can guess. Is 410 condos for sale in New West right now? How many of them are priced correctly?
Well, there's 50 sales in May, so I'm going to guess 50.
So that is, what's that? That's like 10%-ish, roughly?
Maybe we could give them 15%,
Yeah. That's pretty accurate. I would say, I was going to say like 75% are priced too high.
Yeah, that's probably right.
For today's market.
Yeah.
Maybe they were priced correctly last year, like whatever that number is. But today's number to sell, because there's more inventory and more that is listing below what you're listing at, just doesn't have much of a chance to sell. So when you look at like days on market and how many are for sale, understanding as a buyer that yes, overall sounds like much better buying conditions, but 75% of those listings roughly are just priced too high and sitting for that reason alone.
And as a buyer, don't hesitate to put offers out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's sellers that are stuck on recouping their cost, and there's sellers that are realistic on taking market value.
Yeah.
And you don't know. Sometimes the list price doesn't tell you how a seller is going to respond to that, and you have to try an offer. So just if you end up in a negotiation, the seller realize that seller wants a certain number that's not really, you just move on to the next right away.
Yeah.
It's not, don't hesitate. This is a market where you can put more offers out and move on to the next. You're typically in a position of power. And if you're after a desirable one that in week one and you love that place and it's priced well, don't expect to get a big discount week one. There are still places selling. Not everything is distressed. Don't assume that everyone has to take a hit. So days on market tell you a lot. Look at the listing history, and also just look at the price per square foot, because in general, higher price per square foots are struggling more right now.
That's a good point of don't be hesitant to write an offer if you do like something, regardless of what the list price is. There are a lot of seller conversations that I've had in the last couple of months, and their question is, why hasn't somebody written an offer? We've had 15 groups come through. Why isn't somebody writing an offer? And in some cases, it's because buyers are scared to write $75K, $100K below list price. When in reality, the seller would maybe not accept that, but be willing to work with it and counter and come off their list price 50, 60, 70, 100K in some cases. But a lot of buyers are just hesitant to write that because they don't want to piss somebody off.
Well, I've said this a few times. Whether it's 6 or 9, we've had 6 showings on your place. We've had 12 showings on your place today. And why haven't they written an offer? I'm like, I don't think any of those buyers have written an offer, period.
Yeah, fair.
And I think a lot of them are just looking. If I follow up with an agent that showed a listing 2 months ago or a month ago, oftentimes that buyer still hasn't purchased. So people don't just offer. You're lucky to get an offer right now. Treat it like gold if you get an offer, and expect it to be 50% chance to be an insulting lowball, but don't be as insulted in this market.
And on the seller side, that's such a good point, is don't be insulted. When you get an offer, try to take your emotion out of it, and it's an offer. It's something to work with. You don't have to accept it. If it's 100K below your list price, just counter at what number you feel is reasonable. But the emotional side of real estate is very tricky to balance out with sellers right now. But getting an offer is, for some reason, the word privilege came to mind, and that sounds a bit extreme. But getting an offer is a good thing.
Like getting chosen as a puppy at the SPCA. You're getting rescued.
That is a pretty good way to end this.
Let's leave it at that.